start to. Bismillah. That's it.
Wait, you say after to Bismillah? Okay.
And then she one time she started it and then she was like, whatever. I'm like, how can you do this?
Oh, such a troll.
Hi guys, I'm here with Emily, who is a convert to Islam who left Islam. I'm here with her and her husband Omar, who we did another video about being an ex-Muslim couple, which I might release before or after this video. But this video, I thought we'd do one about your conversion journey into Islam and your, deconversion journey out of Islam. If you guys are wondering why I'm dressed like this, actually, we're they're hanging out with me and a couple of other ex-Muslim friends for like an Eid, doing a cottage somewhere. Yeah. So hence, this is your Eid.
It's not that exciting. I'm kind of living out of a suitcase at the moment. Yeah. But we're having our haram Eid.
Haram.
Yeah.
I want to start off a little bit with the question around, because you converted at the age of 14. It was quite a long time ago.
Child.
You were a child. And talk to me a little bit about what your childhood was like, and talk to me a little bit about what went into conversion. How did you get there?
Okay, I think a really big thing that I have to mention is my dad is a clergyman in the Catholic Church. So, once I started to enter my preteen years, we had a very tumultuous relationship. And I think even though consciously at the time I didn't think I was being spiteful, now that I have hindsight's 20/20, I think I was in many ways. People say that doesn't make you a real Muslim. Well, that wasn't the only reason. I'm saying it was a factor. Sure. When I was 8 years old, my mom, who I'm very close to, got a cancer diagnosis. And that was the first time I was kind of confronted with, like, death. And it really made me think deeply about these things I had never really thought about before. And I remember being, like, really young, sitting in, like, church and just being like, I don't know if I can do this forever. Like, some things just don't make sense. I'd always, like, been in my head as a child. I'm still in my head as an adult. So that'll always be the case. And I'm just like, I'm very much like a thinker. And I just was like, this doesn't make sense. And I would ask questions and I was never satisfied with the answers. So yeah, that was a part of it. So I was confronted with kind of like mortality and stuff like that. The two people I was very close to was my mom and my grandfather. And then when I was 11, my grandfather started going through Alzheimer's, and I kind of watched him wither away and die. And that he passed away when I was 13, so right before 14, when I converted. So this is all like building. So that was kind of like the backdrop for my conversion.
Did you have a lot of Muslim friends growing up, or did that sort of come into your life later?
Okay, so I had one close Muslim friend before I converted, but then the moment I converted, I was basically love bombed. And that was a huge thing.
By the community of Muslims around you. Was it celebrated like, oh, another white convert?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, it's validating to them. I think in many ways. So then all my friends became practically Muslim overnight. It was very
all
fake.
Your friends became Muslims
like,
around you. Right.
But it was a very fake relationship.
What did you feel about it at the time?
I was 14 years old. I was a insecure teenager. It felt great. To be honest, it felt great.
Because suddenly...
because to be honest, I felt quite lonely when I was that age. I felt quite lonely. I felt quite misunderstood.
And many of us do, right? Like,
many of us do.
It's a difficult time.
And I think that vulnerability is played upon, unfortunately. Not necessarily in converting people to Islam, but in many ways, like making whatever choice. Being that age is really hard. The first time I went to a mosque, I wasn't Muslim yet.
Right.
And the love bombing started even then.
Right. What happened? What did they do? What did people do?
People, I remember doing research one summer because I was about to go through confirmation, which is a big thing in Catholicism, and I just was like, I can't do this. I can't commit to this.
Because you don't believe in Catholicism.
And then so I started looking into all these other things, and I came across Islam, and I was like, oh, they have all the same prophets. Like all these things, and like the pure monotheism. I vibed with that.
You vibed with that.
And then that was like a big thing, and so I looked into that, and then I reached out to like I said, the one Muslim friend I had. I reached out to her. I said, I really want to go to the mosque and just see what it's like. It was the last 10 days of Ramadan. So she was like, it's a sign from Allah, It was an odd night. So they're like, it could be Laylatul Qadr, Anyway, so I went to the masjid, and love bombing. It was like, oh my God, like if you convert, your sins will be forgiven. You'll be I was like, I'm 14. What do you think I've done? Do you think I've killed someone? Like, what have I done?
So you still thought that at the time?
I thought it a bit, but I also kind of like, and I can admit this now because I have hindsight and I'm an adult now, but I'm like, being a young insecure girl, I definitely probably like the attention. Like I think a lot of people like attention, and
or need it. Maybe
need
it's
it for sure. Yeah. And I was in a very vulnerable, like I said, the build up, it was there, and so, yeah. And feeling lonely, I was like, I appreciate all that. I appreciate people like saying like, oh, I would love to get to know you. I'd love to spend time with you. All these things. Because one thing like a lot of religious people say that leave these religious communities is they miss the community of it. Yeah. That's a huge thing.
Because it's there as a structure for you. I mean, we see this particularly with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses where, you know, there's this, in the temples there's like love bombing. There's a lot of love. But if you're shunned, you're completely cut out, right? Yeah. And losing that can be some of the hard. And it's really interesting because people often say to born Muslim who become ex-Muslim kids, they say, you must hate your family. It's like that's the opposite. That's the reason people are in the closet, because they're so scared of losing their family. So you mentioned that your family were quite Catholic.
Yes.
And how do you think they reacted when you joined Islam?
Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely... Well, like I said, I am very close with my mom. And so I told her first, I was just like, You
had a really funny story about wearing the abaya, right?
Oh, yeah. I said that in the other video.
Never mind. Watch the other video.
Anyway, so I told my mom, and she just was like, whatever, you're 14, you'll be Buddhist next week, Hindu the next.
Right, okay.
Whatever, like, okay. But
she was not entirely wrong, but she was not right either. It took a long while.
Yeah. She kind of just was like, I don't really care as long as you're safe. My dad being a clergyman, it was really hard for him. And I empathize with that, and I understand that. I think I was not sensitive enough to that at the time. All these things you look back on now. 14 to 18, I'm just like, girl. Like, oh, stop. Anyway.
Basically before you met Omar.
Yeah, but even then he put up with so much crap. Yeah. Anyway, he's there laughing.
He's there laughing. Like, he's like, they're going, I know.
Like, he's my golden retriever, though. He puts up with it anyway. But yeah, it was really hard. But my dad and my sister kind of takes after my dad. She's the firstborn. She's very much like, I have to do what's expected of me. She's the firstborn trope. Like, she's cookie cutter. Like, I have to do what's expected of me. And I'm very much the opposite. I'm like, I'm rebellious. I'm like,
I'll do what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Our relationship suffered until a turning point when I was 18. Yeah. And my sister, she didn't want to go out in public with me. My dad, we didn't talk.
Because you started to wear the hijab
at 18.
At 18. Also, it took a couple of years before
you
did that.
But just before that, it was horrible. I was kind of in the closet for a bit, but my mom kind of like was the mediator.
In the closet really, as a Muslim.
As a Muslim to my Catholic family, and my mom was kind of the mediator, and I empathize with her for that because that's a hard role.
That's a hard role, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and she loves you. Like, I mean, we all had a chat with her mom, like her FaceTime. Partner, me, her. It was so funny. Just such a funny hilarious. Woman. And I think that's really important, that it's clear that your mom has a very loving personality and will accept you kind of no matter what choices you made.
I could do anything. I could do anything.
And that's such an important thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of stability with all this upheaval in your life. There's another video about her getting married with Omar, meeting on Muzmatch and all that stuff, and then leaving Islam.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit. You're married. You're from a background where you're not that, like, for example, homophobia. You know, you're LGBT friendly largely.
100%.
All these kind of things. Yeah. Talk to me about the doubts. What started creeping up?
Well, I remember.
And when did they start?
The week I converted.
Really? Oh, what was the first thing?
I just remember thinking to myself, it wasn't like a doubt from an unbiased perspective. It was a doubt from a Catholic perspective. I remember being told from like a Muslim perspective, Jesus wasn't crucified. Allah made it so that a Roman soldier was crucified, but it looked like Isa alayhi salam.
Hanging out,
And I was just like, that sounds crazy.
Right.
That sounds whack.
Right,
like, I think y'all are a bit...
Yeah.
You're a bit off base.
Right.
Here.
Okay.
So I'm like, can I really...
Which is funny, because that's what Muslims think about you guys.
I know!
Catholics.
I know, but it's like...
You got your Pope Mobile.
I know, the Pope Mobile.
Which I've seen.
That's hysterical.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Pope Francis, he's a funny one.
He's funny. You had that and you were like, that's a little bit off, but obviously it was not a doubt that stuck necessarily, right?
Once I went to the masjid and I was like met with this love bombing, it was almost confirmation bias at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked up stuff about Islam, and it was like the Disney version of Islam was being sold to me.
Yeah, you said this before as well with me, that you kind of got a Disneyland Orlando version, which is like super.
I got Orlando, not Saudi Arabia. And it's just...
What was your impression of Islam right at the beginning, and how did that change over time?
Okay, I was told women have the right to vote.
Right.
Which I was like, wow, so progressive.
It's very progressive.
I was told a woman has the right to divorce, which in Catholicism you don't.
Yeah.
I was told woman has the right to an inheritance. Wow, progressive. Didn't know all the
dodgy rules.
The footnotes.
Yeah. You can inherit, but it's not.
Yeah, I also didn't know the footnotes with the divorce.
Yeah.
Didn't know all these footnotes.
The fact that men can kind of divorce by saying 3 words.
Yeah, exactly. We were laughing about that the other day. Yeah. It's like a video game movie.
It's a video game.
It's a tech. Anyway,
it's a cheat code.
Yeah, it's a cheat code. And
for men, obviously.
For men, obviously, naturally, with everything. Yeah. And then what?
No, but you can go into your husband's wallet and take out the money.
I know.
As you want.
Me as a broke teen, I was like, what?
We're happy with that.
Yeah, so I was like, that's fine. And then I also was told like that it's okay to be gay, you just can't act on it. I feel like the Catholic Church in particular, well, it's not even in particular, it's just very against homosexuality.
Yeah.
And I feel like at least when I was looking into Islam, they kind of like tried to sugarcoat their view on homosexuality. But then it must have been the sources I was looking at, because that's very not true. From the religion itself, I didn't feel peace. It triggered my anxiety. I'm gonna go to hell if I don't do this right. I'm gonna go to hell if I do this, and I'm gonna go to hell if this is part of my culture, my background. But I'm gonna go to hell if I do this because it's like not approved here. So before I met Ahmad, I was struggling so much mentally, with my depression, my anxiety. I had been in hospital. I had gone through just a lot. And I'm like, I need to think about, like, how I can take control of interacting with men, because I do want to have, like, complete half my deen, so to speak, eventually.
Complete half your deen, yeah.
Like, it's pushed on you. Because the moment I converted, people were talking about getting me married.
Right.
The moment.
So there's a lot of pressure from that.
There's pressure.
Why do they want that?
They want to trap you.
Right.
I don't think they consciously are thinking that, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's way easier to leave if you have nothing holding you down. No children, no spouse, no nothing. I downloaded Muzzmatch just because I was like, this is like my ability to like filter out the weirdos, and like, just why does anyone download Tinder or anything like that? It like kind of, or Bumble, it kind of gives you the ability to like pick and choose and like read like the book cover, so to speak, and decide if you want to read. And so that's what I did. I didn't expect anything to come from it. When I first started talking to Omar, on my profile it said, what does it say? I didn't want to get married. 4 years. 4 years. He loves to say, I got it from 4 years down to 4 months. Like
to get married.
Yeah, because it did go that way, because I just fell in love with him.
One thing that you talked about a little bit is when we were all hanging out, I think at the dinner yesterday, was white guilt.
Oh.
And how that made you a little bit open to vulnerability, and something you see often.
100%.
Yeah, and I've seen it as well, like, as a ethnic minority, but within that sort of community.
Yeah.
I've seen how white guilt is sometimes used to, like...
Huge.
Yeah.
I still got it.
You still got it.
Still got that white guilt. But yeah, so I grew up in a suburb of a very progressive city. Very diverse, very woke.
Yeah,
I hated being white.
Right.
I hated it. I was like, I am a product of oppression and colonialism and privilege, and I have no right to have the things I have, and it became unfair. I understand these things. I understand my privilege. I understand these things. I can see it now. Like, Emily, you hated being white. But yeah, I felt a lot of guilt, and like just in the environment I grew up in, not in elementary school, but more so middle school. I was submersed in like different like cultures and ethnicities and people around me, and people would make comments to me like just like if I was in a bad mood one day and I didn't feel like talking, it's like, Emily's racist. And it's just like it got to me. I can't lie to you, it really got to me.
And do you feel like that contributed in you trying to find another identity
100%.
or theology?
100%. In the United States and everywhere, to be honest, there is a huge hesitancy to criticize Islam, because it's conflated with bigotry towards brown people, which are the majority of the followers of this religion. Okay, I'm not denying that anti-Muslim, anti-brown bigotry exists. Of course it does. Of course it does. But it is a it's so crucial to be able to criticize ideologies, right?
Yeah, of course.
We agree with that. That's why we fight for this freedom, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's interesting because you're married with Omar, who is brown.
He is brown.
And so he's brown. Very brown. He's very brown.
Yeah. Can't confirm.
Can't confirm. And so you probably see also, like, you can probably, as being his spouse, see some of that. You know, I mean, the UK is pretty good generally, I would say, in London or whatever, but you can't probably see that. But, you know, self-hate is just...
some of the things that he said to me, of course, we talk about how we each have, we call it intersectional privilege, you know. There's certain privileges he has as a man that I don't. Yeah. And there's certain privileges I have as a white person that he doesn't, you know. And it's like we can empathize and we can understand each other. But, at this point, when I was like 14, I was just like, I hate myself. Yeah. I feel like I just... am a bigot, and I'm not. I'm a product of hatred, you know. And I was like, damn, like even though my family doesn't have that history, obviously they didn't. It's like just because I'm white, I'm guilty. Yeah. And
I know. How was that used? How did you find some of these structures use that to convert people?
I don't think that it's used consciously to influence white people to convert, because it's usually white Catholic women. There's a huge pattern of it, and I see it. But I think it's used to keep people from criticizing Islam, like I'm saying. Right, yeah. And if you criticize Islam, you're called Islamophobe. And I think that's so dangerous. Because it's like when we criticize Christianity, we're not calling people Christian phobes and stuff like that. Absolutely. Buddhist phobe, Hindu phobe.
It's really interesting you mentioned about kind of the idea that criticizing an ideology is the racism. Because it's the opposite. If you assume that all people who look a certain way are that kind of theology or have those opinions, you are being racist because you're defining a race as a theology or an ideology, which is just not how people work.
Yeah, it's ignorant.
It's very ignorant. Yeah. It's like, for example, if I listen to your accent, I was like, she's definitely a Trump supporter, which you know sometimes. No, I'm joking.
In the United States, it's interesting because we will say the left will not talk about or criticize Islam because it's conflated with bigotry. But equally, I will say the right doesn't adequately criticize Islam. They don't, it's just bigoted usually. The reason why they do it is usually they're racist. Yeah. There's no good criticism happening.
Yeah, like, it's a vacuum of voices.
Yeah. Like these Republicans, or I won't just say Republicans, but conservative people. Who criticize Islam. I'm like, you just say you don't like brown people.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I see that all the time.
I'm tired of it.
It's like you see that as an ex-Muslim with anything in public, where you'll get like these like wackos who are like, oh yes, I agree with you, and by the way, Brexit. And I'm like, yo, no,
that's not what I'm saying.
Even in the realm of like, you know.
No.
And this is the problem. That vacuum of ideas is a big problem. Yeah. Do you think that affected you? Because you mentioned you had a vanilla version of Islam, right? Yeah. So as you start to learn all these other things about, you know, you were mentioning sexual slavery, you were mentioning kind of like how women are treated, gay people, etc. Did you feel? What did you feel?
Rage.
Anger.
Like,
anger at who?
I blame different people. I blame the Muslim community when I converted as a child. But then I think about that and I'm like, a lot of them probably don't know.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people in those kind of communities are victims themselves in many ways.
You know who I blame more is I blame the clergy, the sheikhs and the imams. They probably know.
I mean, they know.
They know some. Yeah, they must know. I know some people, some sheikhs, like a sheikh who's told not to even read the hadith books because he's not ready yet. And he's considered a sheikh. Wow. It's like, I blame these people who know. And they don't do anything about it. But even the general community had massive themes of sexism and homophobia and all this rubbish. And I blame them. I also think if we weren't so terrified to be labeled as Islamophobes and criticize Islam in a productive way, I wouldn't have converted. I think
right early on.
Yeah. Because if I criticize, imagine my white guilt. If I criticize Islam, that's just gonna mess with my white guilt even more. I'm an Islamophobe, you know. And I know, boo-hoo, poor white person.
Self-hate is never a good feeling. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender. It's just not a good feeling. No. It's never productive. No. Talk to me about leaving. So you know, some of this we've talked about in the video about your relationship, but talk to me a little bit about what triggered you to go, I think I've had enough.
When I married Omar, I started looking into Islam more deeply because I'm like, I'm a wife now, you know, domestic goddess.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got, no, not ever.
Except he's
But-
the one who cooks, by the way.
Now.
Like,
When I got him, he was like...
When I got him! You can't say you got him!
When she bought me.
Like a puppy!
My white guilt! No.
Yeah, you wonder about why you have white guilt, and then you're like, when I got him. When I got the nice brown boy.
He's my golden retriever when I got him!
Omar, are you okay? Do you need help? Blink SOS.
Blink 3 times!
3 times! Yeah.
When I married him, I started looking into Islam more. And I was also like, what if I had a kid? Like, I was thinking to myself, if I were to have a child, in particular a daughter, how could I ever explain to her why we do this, why we believe this,
If you didn't know yourself.
when I didn't even know myself? And also, I kind of think I think it's sexist.
Yeah.
And like, it's easy to like put things to the side and ignore them. I know Omar did that a lot when he was like having doubts. It's like just, and also I was like, I made such a huge stand and I hurt people when I converted. I hurt people.
So you can't back off very easily, can you?
I hurt my family when I converted. I know that. And I regret that. But it was part of my growth. It is what it is. And I'm just like, I can't give this up so easily when I hurt people. It can't be for nothing, you know? And so, yeah, so I started looking into things more. And then I came across sex slavery. And I looked into all the justifications.
It's just too weird. It's one of those things that's too obviously weird.
Yeah.
But it's so weird that even the conservative people don't really like talking about it.
It's uncomfortable.
It's even the most conservative people I've spoken to
Yeah.
are a bit like they know we should be careful about it because it's so weird.
Yeah, it's not a nice thing.
You know, we're talking about the best of man, best of mankind.
That's the bottom line. Is Muhammad was supposed to be the blueprint. With the age of Aisha, I would just cling on to the people who were like, she was 18. Still, if I saw an 18-year-old with a 55-year-old today, I'd be like, okay. And you have 7 other wives or whatever. Weird. But anyway, and they're like, you can't compare the morals of today's sister. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so I contacted a shhhhh, a very well-known shhhhh in the United States, and I explained this to her. I reached out to so many well-known people. I'm like, I'm struggling. Please help me. I don't want to lose my faith. And I just told her I'm in particular struggling with sex slavery and slavery and whatever. And she recommended me this book called Islam and Slavery, written by Jonathan J.C. Brown, who's a white...
Oh, A.C. Brown?
Yeah,
I know.
He's a white...
He's good.
He's a white convert.
I mean, he's not good, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty into good writer, yeah.
He tells it like it is.
Yeah, he doesn't bullshit around it, which I liked, actually.
Yeah, which people
I've seen him
said
speak a few times,
they gave him credit for including some of the shit he includes in this book.
Yeah.
Because it's bad.
Yeah.
The shhhh recommended me this book, knowing I'm on the brink of losing my faith. And I'm just like, why would you do this? I'm to this day, I'm like, she's in on this.
Right. Oh, you think she's a secret ex-Muslim?
Yeah, she's in on this. So
if you were like a sheikh or a sheikha or something, you just do that. You just stay in the closet.
Low key, like...
People would come to you and be like, oh, you're worried about sex slavery. Here's a book that says it's okay.
Yeah. No, here's the book that literally says, oh my god, it was just... I remember reading... Omar was playing PS4, and I was reading it, the book in the other room, and I was terrified to pick up this book. I waited months.
Wow.
It was sitting on my shelf, like watching me. Like, you're ready, you're gonna open me up one day,
and
you're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I pick it up one day. I get the nerve, and I open it, and it's talking about the Sahaba Omar patting down the breasts and butt and stuff of the slave women in the market, and I'm like, fuck.
You're like, I'm down with this
No. He'll tell you, I literally have the book, and I march in all happy into the other room, and he's on his PlayStation.
And he's like, what have I done? He's like, what have I done?
And my life is flashing before his eyes. And then I'm like, babe, look at this.
What do you do?
He's just like, surely it's not authentic. Typical Muslim apologetics.
Like...
In this book, it talks about how the Sahaba were serial polygamists and how many wives they had.
That's
which
crazy.
I was like, oh my god.
I remember this, like, I remember, like, going, okay, well, you know, times of war, you can kind of do this and that and blah, blah, blah. But then, like, the Prophet, certain benchmark for mankind. Sahaba, certain benchmark. Tabi'een, some other benchmark. But you look at what the Sahaba were up to, and it is like...
It's wild.
It's like serial dating. It's
wild.
like Tinder gone wild. Like, it's crazy. They would
like,
just marry, divorce. There's often that
They love to
happening.
talk about the kafir hookup culture. Y'all were doing the same thing.
Talk about the hijab, because you have the tipping point, you passed it, but you're wearing the hijab. What happens with that?
It was so funny. I went through a hijab phase. I even dabbled in the niqab, you know. It was
But why do you dabble with that? What was the point?
Basically, I felt like I needed to be hyper religious because I was a wife, and I needed to be. I perceived Omar as very religious, and his family, because they are, and I was like, I need to be better.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't properly wear it. I just dabbled with it, and he hated it. He was like, dude, what are you doing?
Dude,
anyway,
what are you doing?
Yeah, when we were living in London, it was so funny because I just said to Omar, I was like, I hate that when people see me wearing this hijab, they perceive things about me before they even talk to me, because they know certain things about Islam. They'll assume that I'm not supportive of the LGBT community. They'll
Which
assume,
you're very pro LGBT.
Yes. And all these other things. And I just I hate that they assume that before I even open my mouth. And then Omar would just be like, well, that's their problem. And I'm like, but they're right. Because technically this is a symbol of that.
Right.
And so I started wearing the turban, you know.
Yeah, you went the three
and
phases.
Then, it was so funny. It was so funny. It's because someone, I forget who, maybe you remember, babe. Someone telling me that I look like a Jew.
You said that a Jew said shalom
to you. A Jew did say shalom to me.
Because you were wearing...
I'm white and I was wearing a turban. And I would wear like wide-legged pants. I looked like a religious Jew. And I was like, I hope they think I'm Jewish and not Muslim.
Really?
Because I was like, I'm like having a crisis right now and like all these things.
You just want to be invisible.
I don't want to be held accountable for anything right now. And then, so yeah, I wore the turban and then it went beanie and then, you know, the beanie route.
Once it's beanie, you go downhill. You're done. It's gone. How did the Muslims around you react?
I wasn't really around many, like, I had a friend at the time who was a convert as well, and she's also left.
Yeah.
I helped her leave.
Is that common?
Oh, it's very common. It's very common.
Because, you know, Muslims always say this thing that fastest growing religion. Look,
people
here's all
convert left and right.
Yeah,
they also leave left and right.
Yeah, exactly. But you never hear those stories because it's so
and that's why we're doing this video.
That's why we're doing this video.
Yeah.
What did your family do when they saw you without the hijab?
They were thrilled.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why were they happy?
Because my family knows I am a very open-minded liberal person, and they thought I was stifling myself.
Right.
My mom thought I was hiding myself. And I used the hijab to hide. I'm a very bubbly person. I just felt like I was hiding myself. And yeah, my sister cried with joy just because I
they didn't try to convert you into Christianity.
They didn't.
No, none of that.
My dad, to his credit, he's accepted that. It's just not my path, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong, we'll talk about it sometimes, but there's not an expectation.
Sure.
And I go to church sometimes to watch him give his sermons, because I support that. But yeah, they were very happy.
You're masked because you just don't want to be recognized, not because you're really anonymous. You're out to people.
Yeah,
just like Omar.
Yeah.
Did you tell Muslim friends, and how did they react?
So that is something that Omar went through. I told my convert friends who were still in it that I left, and I told my Quran teacher that I left, and they tried really hard to, especially my Quran teacher, who's a lovely person. I love her. She tried to tell me, please don't leave, and like it was just a lot of mental gymnastics to try to get me to stay, and yeah, but they weren't. I feel like with converts, especially the converts I was around, they weren't super hardcore.
Yeah, right.
And so they weren't vicious to me. But
did you lose friends?
Yeah. Yeah, it was awkward.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Often it's not like someone will shout at your face and say, you know, how dare you do this? It's that awkward fizzling out.
Yeah.
And I kind of always think, well, it's sad, but if that's what's going to happen, if you can't package...
Yeah.
If that's what your relationship with me was built on, then we've never had a relationship.
Exactly. And it's like in life, some people are in your life for a season, and they help you grow, and then they're on your way, or you help them grow, and then they're on their way, and that's life, you know.
One thing you said to me that I thought a lot about over the last day or so was, you mentioned how you wish your mom had just forced you not to convert, which is funny because your mom's a really accepting, kind. We've all spoken to her. Why? Why did you want your mom to hold you down when, you know, like, keep you away from Islam?
My mom always gave me a wide berth to be myself.
Yeah.
But I think I wish that she it's not on her.
Yeah.
I wish her and my dad, I wish they did more to keep me from this, because I was a child. But I think they don't know how damaging and dangerous this can be. They did try to make a stand a few times. Don't get me wrong. Of course they did. Like, my mom told me, I don't want you going to the mosque and stuff like that. But it wasn't like... it wasn't enough. Although I'm emotional, I'm also logical. And I feel like if someone were to come to me and tell me all the things about Islam that I know now, with then, just back then when I had my Disney version, I would have left.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't have taken me until I was 22.
Or maybe it would have just taken you less time.
Yeah, it wouldn't have taken me until I was 22. And don't get me wrong, everything happens for a reason. I'm thankful because I have my husband, and I have a lot of wonderful memories as well from those hard years.
And you hang out with all the cool ex-Muslims.
I do.
Yeah.
And
you've probably got a lot of converts watching this, or people who've just left Islam who are converts. What would you say to them?
Your experiences aren't invalid, and you're not stupid. I feel like a lot of ex-Muslims who are born into Islam love to belittle converts. You're so stupid. How could you choose this? Like, what an idiot. Like, and that's damaging. It invalidates our experiences. You've made a video about this on your channel. I watched it. I really appreciated what you said.
You just made me angry. I was just like, this is so dumb. Like, you got people who are born into Islam feeling superior than people who've converted as if they had a more valid experience. Yeah. It's like converts go through almost sometimes worse stuff.
Yeah. These people act as if people don't fall into cults every day. Like, I'm sorry, but a lot of religions have cult aspects. That's just life. Read up on cults. And it's just, it's at the end of the day, there's a lot of propaganda, and it pulls you in, and people are very susceptible to brainwashing and indoctrination, and it's dangerous. It can be dangerous. If you are a convert, that's fine. I just want people to be happy and safe at the end of the day. I'm not here to like end Islam. Like, I'm not, like, no, like, I'm
there's enough people leaving Islam.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
But I do
and for
want
the people who've left, who are converts, who are sort of just leaving or at that precipice where you've been, what would you say?
Find people who accept your experiences, and also just don't belittle yourself. That's what I want to say. Because I felt like, and Omar knows, I've told him, I feel like for him, he had no choice. He was born into Islam. I'm the idiot that chose it. Even I have felt that way. I love to do something I learned in therapy. Like, if I had 14-year-old me sitting right where you are, I know how much hurt, confusion she was going through. I know what was going on. Would I look at her and be like, you're an idiot?
Yeah.
No, I would hug her.
Yeah.
And let her cry, you know? Like, I think that's healing your inner child, you know? And it's just like, I know what was going on. And, yeah, I think have gentleness and empathy and kindness with yourself. Because I know I am so ready to give that to other people, but then I don't give it to myself so easily. Yeah. And that's, I think,
the biggest thing.
I think the biggest thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for doing this. Obviously, there'll be lots of comments down below. What I'll do is I'll send the not crazy ones over to you guys.
Filter. I'm sensitive.
and then we'll try to respond to any comments you guys might have and questions about the story. So thank you so much for doing this. That's really brave, because like there's actually no converts really who've left Islam on YouTube. Maybe one or two.
I noticed that.
There's not many. So it's kind of super awesome that you're
that's why when you mentioned this to me, I was hesitant.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? It could help. If it helps like a few people, it's great.
It will.
It's great.
Thank you so much. Catch you guys later.
Thank you.
That was really good. That was so good.